So, how did a Chinese memory company founded in 2016 suddenly become one of the most valuable companies in the world regarding semiconductors? So, this is CXMT. Now, all of you probably have heard about this company because it was newly listed around 27 July. And it's a Chinese company. Ticker is 688,825. It trades on the Chinese stock exchange. So within weeks, they managed to surge above $500 billion in market cap. Now they're trading at 3.69 trillion. But this is in I believe this is in their own currency. But I could be wrong, but I just think so. You can see the enormous trading volume for this company. In fact, it traded around 2 billion shares on its IPO first trading day. Now, what do they actually do? It's a semiconductor company, right? It's a semiconductor company based in China, and it's a DRAM, which stands for Dynamic Random Access Memory company. And if you've never heard of DRAM, basically what DRAM is it is how do you even explain it? DRAM? Think of DRAM as short-term working memory for of a computer, right? So your smartphone uses it, your phone uses it, servers, gaming PCs, everything, data centers, everything. So CXMT, they design, develop, manufacture, and sell DRAM products with applications ranging from mobile to PCs to computers, all your computers, to tablets, servers, etc. And CXMT has now become sort of fourth major player. You have Samsung, SK Hynix, Micron, and they raised roughly around 8.6 billion, 8.6 billion dollars. The IPO price was around 8.66 yuan, and now we're trading at 55.18 yuan. It surged roughly around 466% in their first single day. So if you managed to get your hand on the stock and sold on the first day, you would have made a 466% profit. And they actually sell DRAM. Now, their most major product is the DDR5 module. It's the fifth generation of mainstream DDR memory, and it's used in things like servers, workstations, PCs. And CXMT, according to CXMT, it can reach speeds up to 8,000 with die capacities of 16 gig, 24 gigabytes. And according to the company, they can reduce power consumption by around 20%. 20%, okay? Which they managed to get on their internal testing. And then they have their LPDDR5 and 5X. And this is the low power memory designed for devices such as smartphones, laptops, tablets, wearables, etc. And according to them, it can reach speeds up about 10,666 within 12 gigabyte and 16 gigabyte die capacities. They also claim a 30% reduction in power consumption compared with the LPDDR5 based on its internal testing. And this is not just something that they say, it's on the roadmap. And they announced LPDDR5X at 8,533 to 9,600, entering mass production in May 2025. So the company has been moving up in the technology ladder. And so their innovation story is also quite interesting. So they say around 80% of their personnel is involved in R&D or technical roles. It also talks about building its own intellectual property portfolio and working with both domestic and international institutions on advanced memory technologies. So they're not just simply trying to manufacture cheap memory, they are trying to move into increasingly advanced generations of DRAM. And so you have the DDR4, then you move into LPDDR5, DDR5, and then LPDDR5X. But then a bigger question is whether they can eventually become a meaningful player in high bandwidth memory or HBM. HBM is particularly important because it's used alongside AI accelerators. And here's where AI come into the picture. So when people hear about AI stocks, right? Think about it. People think about data centers, NVIDIA, AMD, and building data centers. But there's another layer of the AI infrastructure stack that has become incredibly important. That is the memory. Modern day AI accelerators need huge amounts of extremely fast memory, right? And as AI models become larger and data centers become more powerful, demand for memory continues to rise. And so there's a reason why the memory industry has entered such a powerful cycle. We all know, Micron technology, ASML, etc. And now CXMT is arriving at the exact right time, right? So the company is already one of the world's major DRAM producers with roughly 8% of global DRAM market share, okay, according to recent estimates. All right. And so, but investors aren't just valuing CXMT solely based on what it sells today. They're looking at what it could sell tomorrow, right? Now, why does China care so much? Think about it. Geopolitics, right? They spent years trying to reduce its dependence on foreign semiconductor technology. And so memory is strategically important too, right? And so it is strategically important. So if China can manufacture more of its own DRAM, it becomes less dependent on companies such as Samsung, SK Hynix, Micron, etc. So they really want to push for semiconductor self-sufficiency. But here is a big problem that people don't even think about is that, people say it's an impressive company, which it is, or it's worth $500 billion, whatever. The biggest risk is valuation. So the stock has risen more than hundreds of percentages. This is actually a little bit wrong because the company came out at 4 yuan. So we can't really just look at the chart from a $38 yuan perspective. You need to count from the $4 yuan. That's multiple hundreds of percentages. Just from the 38 yuan, we've moved up 42% roughly. Now, it has risen hundreds of percent in an incredibly short period of time. And memory is, of course, notoriously cyclical business too, right? And when memory is scarce, prices can explode and manufacturers can make enormous profits. But eventually, supply catches up, prices fall, margins compress, and investors who pay too much for the stock can get hurt. So CXMT is competing against companies that have spent decades and hundreds of billions of dollars building advanced semiconductor manufacturing capabilities. So the question is, do they pose threat to Micron and other American semiconductor and chip companies? Maybe, maybe not. I really don't know, but I wouldn't say that they pose a serious threat yet, right? But nobody knows what happens. So they will have to continue to sort of innovate while dealing with potential less favorable equipment environment. And then there's HPM. So is it a buy? I actually, this is a little bit confusing because usually I've given out good stocks, Inflection, D-Wave, Quantum, Connect Biopharma, etc. In this case, I would be a little bit more cautious with this stock, even though I do believe that if they manage to innovate more things, they can for sure hit 100 yuan. Absolutely, I think they can rise even more. But this is a speculative buy, okay? Remember that. This is a speculative buy. We have already gone from 4 yuan to 55 yuan, more than 300%. It has to be more than 400 or 500% almost. So be careful if you want to, invest in this stock. So the question is, can they grow fast enough to justify the valuations or not? So it's a fascinating stock. It's a bet, of course, but we need to be careful, and it's, of course, speculative buy here. Cautious. Don't invest too much. Be cautious because, again, it has risen very, very, very much in such a short period of time. And I would love to hear, what do you think? Is this the next major chip giant or not? Or have they already priced in the future? Who knows? That's pretty much it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will release more videos. And that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you liked it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.